Good evening and welcome to the August 11th, 2025 City Council Roundtable meeting. I am Mayor Ross and tonight's meeting is brought to you live using video conferencing technology provided by Zoom. Tonight's recording will be posted on the city's YouTube channel. So welcome and thank you for joining us. City Clerk Dean, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Benson,
Here.
Councilmember Watton,
Here.
Councilmember Holloway,
Here.
Councilmember Washington,
Here.
Councilmember Cotton, here, Councilmember Christensen, here, Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Ross.
I am here. Looks like all council members are present. Next item is to approve the agenda, and tonight this roundtable is an executive session. Council may have a motion to approve the roundtable agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Washington and second by Councilor Christensen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And it passes unanimously. The agenda is approved. Tonight, we have an executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101I to discuss legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to potential litigation, lasting approximately 45 minutes. Those attending will include City Attorney Dina Burke, City Administrator Mike Chambliss, Finance Director Drew Boutte, Chief Bailey, Community Development Director Davis, Parks and Public Works Director Jeff Hamlin, and Interim Chief Racy. And no action will be taken following the conclusion of the executive session. Recording of the meeting at this point will pause, then we will be back around 6:45 to adjourn out of this meeting prior to the council meeting. We will meet upstairs in the Mount Si conference room. Councilor Christensen?
Mayor, I see that there's something for, I'm assuming, public comment. Could we take that before we go into executive session?
So, hello, this is
Or do
the
we have to wait
attorney.
till 7?
I mean, the standard procedure is to do it at that 7 PM meeting. You could do a motion to amend the agenda to allow, and do it that way if you want to amend the agenda to allow public comment now.
I would move to amend the agenda.
Second. Second it.
It's been moved by Councilor Christensen, second by Councilor Johnson to amend the agenda to add public comment at this point.
We don't have to wait.
What, second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? And that motion passes. So I will read in the ground rules for public comment. Snoqualmie residents who are not present have the right to have their elected representatives perform their duties on behalf of the city. So we will limit comment to 3 minutes. And when you get up, please state your name and city of residence. Direct comments to the council as a whole and not individual members. Please note that this is not a time to ask questions of the council, mayor, or staff or engage in debate. The council will quietly and respectfully listen to your concerns. And under RCW 42.17A555, a speaker may not make a statement at a public meeting or during a public comment period in support of or opposition to any candidate or ballot measure. And last, please respect the decorum of these proceedings. So with that, now you can get up.
Just a quick question.
Benson?
This is not going to preclude the opportunity for people to do public comment at the 7 o'clock, I'm sure, right?
That is correct. We still have it then.
Let me make sure this is on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Teresa Noonan, and I am a Snoqualmie Ridge resident. This is my first time here, so thank you for honoring my time. I really appreciate that. This last weekend, I witnessed a visitor tripping on a sidewalk, walking with a local resident. She fell, hit her knees, hit her hands, and smacked her head very hard on the cement. That's the part that actually startled me. I was across the street and turned. So checking in with the community, telling them about the incident, I got a crescendo of feedback because I do walk the sidewalks every day and then I run down at Centennial Park and our sidewalks are in disrepair. So that is something that I was surprised at how many community members actually said that they too have had fall issues themselves or witnessed fall issues. One woman broke 2 ribs last year, turned it into the correct body to, I'm very new at this, correct body to report that and said that the sidewalk hasn't been fixed since then. We have people that have tripped and fallen and now use the roads to run in when they're joggers and don't use the sidewalks anymore. And I just think that this is something that I'd like to ask to have be addressed by this body. And I also emailed with the city over the weekend, and they said the site was down for reports because a lot of people said, I want to take pictures of the sidewalks that I experienced and I want to send it in, but it's not working. One gentleman said, I've tried 4 times, and so I was able to report to them that the site's not working and not receiving concerns. So I felt like I'd bring the concern here. So I'd like to offer that we not only add this to the agenda to talk about material ways this can be fixed, because it seems like the root system of a lot of trees are causing heaving in the sidewalks. And I understand North Bend also had similar issues, but they solved it by pulling the sidewalks out, putting in framework around the root systems, and then reconcreting over the top to allow room for those roots to grow and move and not destroy the sidewalks. And I'm hoping we can consider something, an abatement that's similar. I know it's a larger project on the ridge. I just think it's worthwhile because as a homeowner of 19 years, building from dirt to a home, the sidewalk repair adds value or detracts from the value of our home values.
Thank you.
Thank you. So how do I know when there's follow-up on this? What happens with that from
Councilor
here?
Johnson.
So I thought that there could be staff that had something ready to say tonight, that they might have had a short presentation about the sidewalks. Is that correct, or is that incorrect?
We have some comments from staff. It's not a presentation because it's not on the agenda. So
Right.
we do
So-
have some comments.
I was wondering, since that's not on the agenda, if we could add that to Parks and Public Works, perhaps? That'd be the right spot for it.
At that point. For your comment, yes.
That'd
That'll
be greatly
And,
appreciated.
Move to add
Well, we-
staff report to Parks Public
Have to
Works.
do that when we approve that.
Oh, okay.
agenda,
So we
right.
can't do it to this agenda. We have
Right.
to wait for that. Okay,
Right.
all right.
So that would
So that would be a follow-up for the next meeting. Again, I'm new, so I'm just asking what's the protocol?
So it'll be comments on, next meeting at 7. So and
tonight.
that'll probably.
I was
be
thinking, I
around
thought this was gonna be tonight.
7.
It will be
7?
tonight.
Next meeting.
Yeah, the next meeting tonight, tonight's meeting is
Tonight, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Then I could zoom in for that to hear those, because I've already done my public comments and won't need to do more. I can just zoom in and listen to that. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
So
much.
council, we need to,
Yeah, I know. You get
or
on it.
Thank you for coming.
executive session, then we'll be ending at 6:50. Okay, so we need to head upstairs.
Alright.
Thank you. All right, we just came back from our roundtable executive session. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Christensen, second by Councilor Watton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And we are adjourned. We'll be back at 7 PM for our city council meeting. Thank you. Council, this brings us to our regular meeting of the city council. The time is now 7 PM. Let the record show that all council are present. Council, let's please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilor Washington, would you please lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now to our first item of regular business is to approve the agenda. Council may I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Washington, second by Councilor Johnson. Is there any discussion? Councilor Johnson.
Move to add under Parks and Public Works, a presentation and discussion about sidewalks.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Johnson, second by Councilor Christensen to add presentation about and discussion about sidewalks. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And that motion passes. We also need to remove the executive session. There's a motion to remove the executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilor Christensen, second by Councilor Washington. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And the executive session is removed. So with that, an overall vote, For the two motions and the final agenda, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, our agenda is approved as amended. And tonight we have a presentation from Polko on the 2025 Community Survey Report. We invite Communications Coordinator Dana McCall to introduce our presenter from Polko.
Good evening, Council. It's my pleasure to be here and with Grace Arneson from Polko, who will be presenting the results of our 2025 community survey. We used Polko in 2023, fall of 2023, which was the last time we did a community survey. We pushed it up a few months this year to coincide with the work that Burt Consulting is doing on the strategic plan. So a little bit earlier than we probably would have done it, but it's good that we can combine the two and utilize their impact. When Grace is done with her slide deck, she's got some time reserved for your questions at the end. So with that, I will turn it over to Grace.
Thank you so much,
You can go
Dana.
on screen share now.
Go ahead and share my screen here. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here to present a summary of Snoqualmie's NCS findings. But before I begin, I'd love to thank Dana. She was our main contact throughout the survey and provided really thoughtful insights and feedback throughout the process. So thank you so much. With that, before we dive into your results, I'd like to talk a little bit about Polko. So Polko is an online community engagement platform, and we empower local governments with resident and employee feedback. So hundreds of organizations use Polko nationwide now, and we actually merged with NRC, National Research Center, back in 2019. So NRC is best known for our national benchmarking surveys. These include the NCS, the NES or National Employee Survey, and the Community Assessment for Older Adults, among others. And since 1994, we've really been working with hundreds of jurisdictions nationwide. And that has allowed us to have a really robust benchmark data set. So we are able to benchmark all of our data against other communities. And we are also partners with the ICMA and NLC, along with many other local government leaders like AFI, ELGL, and many academic partners. So most commonly, jurisdictions use their survey data to monitor trends in resident opinion and inform strategic plans, but this also allows you to, again, benchmark your community's specific characteristics and services against communities in our benchmark database. And our hope is really that while these findings are presented to you, it will spur ideas of areas where you might want to dig deeper. So a little bit about the NCS overall. The National Community Survey is a standard 5-page survey assessment that allows municipalities to assess resident opinion on 10 facets of livability, which are covered here. So these facets have been identified through research that they are most impactful to residents' life. And we also align these different facets with different areas of municipalities so that they can really hone in and focus on whatever topic really relates to them and resonates. So a little bit about the overall methodology. As Dana mentioned, this was Snoqualmie's second time conducting the NCS, with the previous iteration in 2023. And the survey mailings began on May 19th and went on for about 6 weeks. So we received a list of all households within zip codes serving Snoqualmie. And using GIS files provided by the city, we removed any addresses that were outside of those city limits. And from that list, we selected 3,000 households to receive that probability-based survey. So about 363 total responses were received. That was between both online and paper survey submissions. So everyone selected received an initial postcard, followed by a survey packet, which contained a cover letter, survey, and postage paid return envelope. So with those 363 responses, that was a 12% overall response rate. I just happened to look at the 2025 response rate so far today, and it's right at 11%. So I was pleased with this overall response rate. And in addition to that random sample survey, we did conduct an open participation survey during the last 2 weeks of data collection. So this was an opportunity for anyone who didn't get that invite to participate in the random sample to speak up and give their feedback to the city. So that resulted in 164 responses, and both survey results were weighted to reflect Snoqualmie overall. The random sample survey I mentioned is what we'll be focusing on today. So since that was utilizing our scientific survey methods, and we have a 95% confidence interval with a 5% margin of error, we really hone in on the random sample data set. So I mentioned earlier that one of the biggest advantages of our surveys are that you have the opportunity to benchmark against other communities in the US. And our database currently has more than 500 comparison communities across the nation. This reflects over 50 million resident opinions. So a very robust database. And in addition to the national benchmark, Snoqualmie also had a custom benchmark. This was a benchmark against neighbors in Washington and Oregon. We've added that list of cities there in case you're curious. So there were 27 total neighboring communities. And you'll see throughout the report references to both the national and the custom benchmark. So now we'll dive into an overview of your survey results. And starting out with some broad ratings here. In the survey, we ask 2 questions about those 10 facets of livability that I mentioned earlier. The first asks residents to rate the quality of each, and you can see the resulting comparison here. So it looks like natural environment was our highest rated in terms of quality, and that scored higher than the benchmark. Any of the lower 4, you'll see are shaded lighter. That means that they were similar to the national benchmark. So we have really strong natural environment, parks and recreation, safety. Some of the lower items included education, arts and culture, inclusivity, and engagement and mobility, while still overall fairly positive. In addition, we ask in the next 2 years, what is most important for the city to focus on? So obviously, we have economy at the top. That is pretty standard. Economy and safety are always very important to residents, and of course, utilities. But then we also have natural environment and parks and recreation scoring really high here, while again, education, arts and culture, and inclusivity and engagement were a little bit lower in terms of importance. So we ask both about the quality and the importance of each of these facets, and then we use those answers to create a quality importance gap chart, which we'll see on the next slide here. So here is where we really compare against quality and importance. So this is included in the report as well, but it's really interesting to look here. You'll see our top item here, economy, was 68% in overall quality and 90% in overall importance. So the wider the gap, the more important it tends to be to residents. And this is just one of many ways to interpret your data, and it can be used to identify areas where you might want to focus, add additional focus or resource allocation in the coming years, specifically to those who are lower in quality and higher in importance. So in terms of the national benchmark comparison, we had 123 evaluative survey items, and 40 received benchmark ratings that were higher than the national average. 78 received similar ratings, and 5 were lower to the national average. In terms of custom benchmarks, we'll see that higher number jump a little bit. So 47 received higher ratings, 72 were similar to that custom benchmark, and 4 were lower. And just a quick comparison, you'll see here, 40 were higher in terms of national and 5 were lower. So those numbers do improve when we narrow that scope to communities that have a lot of similar characteristics to Snoqualmie. And we also have some really useful trend data. So when compared to Snoqualmie's NCS results from 2023, 5 received ratings that were statistically significantly higher than the previous survey iteration. 99 received similar ratings and 19 were lower than the 2023 score. And just for some context here, in order to be higher or lower, it would have had to be greater than 7%, which is our yearly margin of error. So before I dive into our key findings from the survey, I wanted to quickly touch on local government here. So you'll see that overall, really we are similar to the benchmark, similar to the custom benchmark as well, but when asked to rate the following categories of Snoqualmie government performance, about 73% rated treating residents with respect as excellent or good. So these are percent positive here. About 6 in 10 positively rated the government acting in the best interest of the community. And a similar proportion was confident in the overall direction that Snoqualmie is taking. One important note here, this was on the decline from 2023 results. So something that you may want to look into, but still a relatively high rating and overall similar to both the benchmarks. About the same proportion gave positive reviews for the government being honest, and half felt that they were open and transparent to the public. So moving now into the highlights of our findings, I want to point out a few areas that stood out to us as survey researchers. There is a lot of additional data throughout the report, so please do dig in there, but I'm hoping that we can focus in on a few key areas we found to be most noteworthy in Snoqualmie's results tonight. So first and foremost, residents applaud the overall quality of life in Snoqualmie. About 9 or 10 residents gave excellent or good ratings to Snoqualmie as a place to live, the overall image or reputation of the city, and the overall quality of life in Snoqualmie. And a similar proportion also plan to remain in Snoqualmie for the next 5 years and would recommend living in Snoqualmie to someone who asked. So all of these ratings were similar to the national benchmarks and remained relatively stable from the previous survey held in 2023. Our second key finding is that residents consistently feel secure and protected in Snoqualmie. So you'll see here that virtually all respondents, a solid 98%, felt safe in their neighborhood during the day and in the downtown and commercial area of Snoqualmie during the day, the latter of which was higher than the custom benchmark. Both of these were on par with the national benchmark. However, residents feeling safe from violent crime was higher than both the custom benchmark along with the national average. So it's obvious that residents feel very safe in the city. Also, the percent feeling very or somewhat safe from fire, flood, or other natural disaster was increasing since 2023. That was rated as 87% excellent or good, while about 85% indicated that they felt safe from property crime. So that was higher than the higher than the custom benchmark and on par with the national benchmark. In terms of safety services, we had really high ratings across the board. So 96% felt that the quality of fire services were excellent or good in Snoqualmie, and 9 in 10 agreed that ambulance and EMS services were also highly rated. Fire prevention and education, along with animal control, garnered positive results from about 8 in 10 residents. And police was right around that percentage as well, but it is worth noting that there was a slight decline. It was a 10-point decrease since 2023, specifically for police services. Our third key finding here, results for economy-centered survey items may merit additional focus. So in asking residents about the local economy, about 81% highly rated Snoqualmie as a place to visit. However, a relatively lower proportion, about 6 in 10, gave excellent or good reviews to the overall quality of business and service establishments, along with the availability of quality healthcare. The overall quality of business and service establishments was declining slightly since 2023, as was the vibrancy of the downtown and commercial area in Snoqualmie. A relatively lower proportion highly rated Snoqualmie as a place to work, the variety of housing options in Snoqualmie, and the availability of affordable quality housing. Something I'll mention here, while these were mainly similar to the national benchmark along with the custom benchmark, I am seeing a lot of availability of affordable quality housing declining in 2025, as you can imagine. So I was really pleased to see that remained stable and on par with our averages. So a relatively lower proportion, about 4 in 10, gave positive reviews to the variety of business and service establishments in the city. That was the one here that scored lower than the national benchmark. And the cost of living, although rated positively by only about 2 in 10, along with employment opportunities, those were also on par with the national average. However, employment opportunities was trending downward and scored lower than those neighboring comparison communities. Our fourth key finding here is that residents enjoy access to nature and recreational amenities in Snoqualmie. So in looking at this, I can tell you must have a very beautiful city. Our air quality and the availability of paths and walking trails was incredibly high, higher than both the national benchmark along with the custom benchmark. Yard waste pickup was also highly regarded, as were city parks, though the latter was declining slightly since 2023. Snoqualmie open space and preservation of natural areas, along with recreational opportunities, were highly regarded by a little over 8 in 10 residents, and those all scored higher than our custom benchmark and national benchmark. So really some premier natural areas and parks and recreation in Snoqualmie. Water resources was the only one here that scored similar to the national benchmark, and it's worth noting that it was declining since 2023. Mixed experiences with mobility and transportation highlight need for improvement. Although there were really mixed reviews for mobility, a lot was positive. So ease of travel by car was highly regarded by about 9 in 10 residents, higher than the custom benchmark, as was ease of walking. That was valued by about 8 in 10, and although it did decline slightly since 2023, that was still higher than both the custom and the national benchmark. Ease of public parking, travel by bicycle, and traffic flow on major streets all scored higher than the national and custom benchmark here. The only one that was a bit lower was ease of travel by public transportation. Only about 24% of residents rated that as excellent or good, lower than the custom benchmark, but on par with our national benchmark here. In terms of mobility services, about 81% appreciated street cleaning, and 72% felt positively about street repair. Both of these were higher than the national benchmark, And street repair really stood out. It was increasing since 2023, higher than the national average and our custom benchmark average as well. About 71% appreciated street lighting and snow removal. Again, snow removal here is, while it's on par with the national benchmark, it was trending upward and higher than our custom benchmark. About 2/3 appreciated traffic signal timing, on par with the benchmarks, but increasing since 2023. So in addition to those 10 topics of livability, we also asked some custom questions that were unique to Snoqualmie, which are outlined here. So I'll dive into those results next. We asked about the community swimming pool. So we would like to understand your general support for increasing property taxes to pay for a community swimming pool. Over a third, about 36%, expressed strong support for increasing property taxes to fund a community pool. And nearly 1/3, about 30%, indicated that they are strongly opposed. So we certainly have a bit of a divide here because not many were neutral. So we have about 8% here that indicated that they needed more information, and 1% that didn't know or did not hold an opinion. So we also have 19% that are somewhat supportive, along with 7% that are somewhat against. So we are leaning towards more support, though it seems to be a bit of a divide. And in terms of community connectedness, we asked what makes members of the community feel most connected. And our top item here is experiencing local food, crafts, or businesses, talking with neighbors, meeting new people, and activities for kids and families. Enjoying art, music, art, and performances together was relatively highly rated, and celebrating shared cultural or seasonal traditions was the lowest rated item here, but we still have support from about 2/3 of residents. So it seems like really all of these items made community members feel a sense of connectedness. Lastly, we asked if residents would be willing to pay more taxes or fees to avoid higher costs for these services. So we have a lot of support in terms of additional taxes and fees for fire and emergency medical services, followed by maintaining parks and open spaces. About 6 in 10 residents showed willingness to pay additional taxes or fees for maintaining city roads and infrastructure, along with water and sewer services provision. So the lowest ranked priorities are not outlined here, but those included supporting economic development and support for education, arts, and culture. So a quick summary of our conclusions here. Residents applaud the overall quality of life in Snoqualmie. Residents consistently feel secure and protected in Snoqualmie. Economy-centered survey items may merit additional focus. Residents enjoy access to nature and recreational amenities, and there are mixed experiences with mobility and transportation that may highlight areas for improvement. So a little bit about our next steps here. We currently have about 240 subscribers to Snoqualmie's Polko profile. So you have an opportunity to create a consistent dialogue with these community members. And your subscription does include quick pulse surveys that are pre-made on Polko and fully customizable. If there are any areas that you wish to dig deeper, we have over 100 surveys that are related directly to these areas of livability. So really, you have a lot of data at your fingertips here, and we are here to support you. So we have unlimited training available to you as well. With that, I know I went through those results pretty quickly, but I want to make sure that we have enough time for any questions.
Council, do you have any questions? Counselor Johnson.
Well, it's not so much questions, but I have a few thoughts, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
So there were three things that are all kind of under one big umbrella that stood out to me from this. The first one was that it seems to me that the general public is starting to become more aware of how important walkability is. And people are generally starting to realize that it's not really so nice if you have to jump in your car and drive everywhere. So the way that the Ridge was done was you got this great mixture of the residential and the parks and the trails. That's tremendous. What didn't get done very well was integration of retail, convenience stores, corner stores, that sort of thing. I think that people want that. Another one is the score about the business and service establishments and the vibrancy of downtown commercial areas. I, along with many people, travel during the summer. I go to see other towns around, and business is booming in touristy cities. You go to Poolsbo, that has a massive variety. You've got like 5 coffee shops in this small town of all different types and styles. So it's not that, oh, that's the one coffee shop, we all go to that one, and then you get tired of it, and then you stop going. There's this critical threshold of diversity that you got to get in these retail areas. And I think that the actions that we took earlier this year will help, but it's not enough. There is going to be more that's going to have to be done. But the narrative that people don't go shopping anymore is not true in places where you have money to be spent and you have that diversity of businesses. And then the last one was that a lot of respondents were very skeptical of our affordable housing abilities, as it were, that we're really not achieving our goals, or at least the goals of our residents with regard to affordability, especially with housing. And we have one lot right now that may or may not be viable. That is up to a developer to decide. And maybe it is, that's great. But that isn't the thing where, oh, if we do that, then we're all done. Now we have our affordable housing met. And we all know that. So we are going to have to, if we are serious that we actually care about that as a priority, we are going to have to rethink the Ridge. We are going to have to allow for redevelopment within certain bounds on the Ridge if we actually care about affordable housing. If we don't, okay, fine. But that's the one place that we can look at. And all three of these are going to require us to look at properly zoning the Ridge. I know that it's going to be a really big lift for us to do that. But I think that the time has come for us to do that. Decades have gone by. And we need to face that and put in the time and the effort from staff and from council to get that done. There you go.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Grace? Councilor Watton?
I think that this information is incredibly valuable. I think in order to tackle it, we're going to need to take it back to each of our committees in the areas for deeper discussion. And it involves, I agree, it involves the staff and having them involved. But I also think there's an opportunity for us to reach out to the community and engage them. Because obviously enough people care to participate in this and what we can do to help continue to foster that would be very helpful. And I think some of the responses there that we can see that there's a bit of a desire for more involvement from the public.
Councilor Benson?
I thought the gap analysis was really interesting. And of the 10 things that were looked at, only 3 of them were rated as lower quality than importance. And of those 3, I mean, one of those was really close, it was just a 4-point gap. But mobility had a 10-point gap. Economy had the biggest gap of all of them. And I think that's that's something that we've got to focus on. And I guess my question for, we still have her, right? I can't see her picture. Is she still on here?
Yes, still here.
My question is this a rating of the economy specifically in Snoqualmie, or are these general, how do you like the economy? I don't like the economy types of things, and it's super important to me.
This is specific to Snoqualmie. So we ask to rate the overall quality of the economy specifically in Snoqualmie, and then we ask the question, what areas you think it's important for the city to focus on in the next 2 years. So both of those are directly tied to Snoqualmie. Great question.
Thank you.
Any other comments? So I agree that it's very valuable information, and it's nice to have the national benchmark, but also the benchmark that compares it to other like cities, so we can really see how we are doing. And it'll be great discussion for the strategic plan that's happening on this Friday. Yeah, this Friday, 9 a.m. here, so don't forget that. So just a reminder, so, and nice, sorry, Dana.
No, I was just going to add that what Grace mentioned about our subscription. So we just renewed with them. So for 2 years, we have the subscription to their database of other surveys that we can do. We can create our own. There's pre-drafted ones. We do have people who signed up for our profile that would automatically get them. We get a link, we can push it out. So it's a lot of really good surveying opportunities that really dig down into the areas that you talking about focusing on. So there is that ability and availability if and when you want to use it.
Great. Nice work on it, Dana McCall. Thank you. And thank you, Grace, for the presentation.
Thank you so much. Yes, and please do feel free to reach out. My email is here. We're here to support you moving forward. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're moving on to public comment. At this time, we'll provide time for residents to comment on items not on the agenda. No online public comments will be accepted during the meeting. Written comments are encouraged and may be submitted in person, mail, or email to our city clerk at snoqualmiewad.gov. But first, is there anyone within the council chambers that would like to have public comment? I'm not seeing anyone. So with that, our public comment is now closed. And we move on to the consent agenda, the approval of the city council meeting minutes dated July 28, 2025. Approve the claims report dated August 11th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Councilor Washington, second by Councilor Watton. Any discussion? I'd ask for public comment. No public comment. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? And the consent agenda is approved. Next, we have AB 25-077, interlocal agreement for fire and EMS for Echo Glen Children's Center. Councilor Watton, would you please read the introduction and motion?
Thank you, Mayor. This is AB 25-077, interlocal agreement for fire and EMS for Echo Glen Children's Center. The fire department has been providing fire EMS and inspection services to Echo Glen Children's Center, EGCC, since June 2003. This agreement is for a 1-year contract with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, DCYF, for services at EGCC from July 2025 to June 2026 at a cost of $7,794.78 annually. I motion the approval of the local interlocal agreement for fire and EMS for Echo Glen Children's Center and authorize the mayor to sign. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Councilor Watton, second by Councilor Washington. Is there any discussion regarding this? We do have Chief Bailey here to answer any questions. Councilor Cotton.
I think it's worth noting that historically, the agreement with Echo Glen has been based on one of their sister affiliates. Is it Green Hills down in Chehalis? as to the way that they charge for that. And so we are looking at, into discussions with them as far as lining things up with their budget cycles so we can better work on the accuracy of charging for the services.
Thank you. Counselor Watton.
I think it's also important to point out that this particular facility is serviced by Falls City Fire Department, which is separate. And because we're the closer responding agency, it falls on us for mutual aid. And this gives us a chance to recoup some of the costs of providing those services.
Thank you. Counselor Christensen.
I'd also like to note that despite the fact that initially calls had been going up over the past couple years, it sounds like they are working with our fire department in order to make sure that the call volume will decrease in a way that is also making sure that folks there are being kept safe. I appreciate that work going forward as well.
Any other comments? Do we have any questions for Chief Bailey? Okay, seeing none, let's move to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And it's unanimous, and it's approval of the interlocal agreement for fire and EMS for Echo Glen Children's Center. Next item is AB 25-075 Score Jail Interlocal Agreement Amendment. Councilor Watton, would you please read the introduction and motion?
Here you go.
AB 25-075 Score Jail ILA Amendment. In July 2025, SCORE provided notice to the city that the new rate increase will go in effect on January 1st, 2026. An amendment to the ILA will need to be executed prior to the start of the year due to the new rates. I move to approve the amendment to the original agreement for inmate housing with SCORE for 2026 and authorize the mayor to sign. Do I have a second?
Second. Been moved by Counselor Watton, second by Counselor Christensen. Is there any discussion regarding this? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? And it's unanimous, and the SCORE Jail ILA amendment is approved. Is there any further report from Public Safety Committee?
None at this time. Thank you, Honor.
Thank you. Is there any report for Community Development Committee?
Nothing this time, Madam Mayor.
Right. Next item under Parks and Public Works is a presentation and discussion of our sidewalk program. We'll ask our Director of Parks and Public Works, Jeff Hamlin, to comment on this.
You didn't say he did.
Good evening, council. So sidewalks. The sidewalk program is something that I know very well. I created it. It's first thing that happened that I got when I got here in 2017 was Nancy Davison was our operations manager. And she said, here, you got to get your feet wet on a project. And she handed me the sidewalks project. And so what I saw was that we were dutifully every year going around and fixing sidewalks. But, you know, being a consultant, I said, you know, the real problem here, this isn't a sidewalk problem. This is really a tree problem, a tree sidewalk problem. So first thing I did was talk to our arborist, Phil Bennett at the time. I said, so, you know, what do you know about sidewalks? And Phil happened to be a wealth of information on this subject because he actually went to a conference and studied it and had all kinds of reference materials and manuals, which I quickly devoured and worked with Phil to develop the program. So what we have, I think, is a very extensive sidewalk program. I think we're the best in the state, frankly. And it's not me that's just saying that. It's our insurance carrier. The WCIA says we're the best. We're the model of sidewalk maintenance programs. They felt so confident in our procedures and our methods that they decided to fight a lawsuit that we were in last year on a sidewalk tripper incident. And they thought, if we can't win with you guys, then we can't win. of course, it was kind of a stalemate, but either way, it's kind of the changing world of sidewalks. Now, we take it very seriously. We have a program, and I can talk at length about it, but our initial approach to sidewalks is that we actively scout out sidewalk trippers. We understand, of course, that it's a tree issue, right? That the trees are primarily the main cause of these sidewalk displacements, so-called sidewalk trippers. And so we have to be ever vigilant on that because it's a continuous problem. And as these trees grow, if we just keep fixing the sidewalks, then we're throwing good money after bad. So we're looking for ways to improve the program. It depends on a lot of factors. So we brought a level of analysis to the problem where when we have each incident, it gets reported to us or we discover it on our own. We look at the tree, we look at the soil, we look at the sidewalk. Can it be moved? Should we replace the tree? Should this tree be here? Right? We take a more of a holistic approach to the problem. And so when we discover a displacement, we go out and we patch it with cold patch to try to remove that tripper. Now that doesn't always perfectly fix it, but that's the first thing we do, and we stripe it or put some paint on it so that people can see it. We determine whether or not we can grind it. The city bought a grinder, so we do grind sidewalks, but you can do that once because after you grind the lip off of a sidewalk, there's not enough left to grind it again. So at that point, it becomes a repair. And so when we look at it, we say, all right, we have a root, we have a growing tree. Do we want to keep the tree? Yes. Can we move the sidewalk? Probably not typically. Can we build root ramps, cushioning, root corridors, root barriers? We have a menu of items that we use to address sidewalk tripper issues and how to repair them. We use trip stop joints on all of our repairs so that as the tree grows, it tends to hold together instead of becoming a displacement. We use cushioning. We look for areas where we can actually excavate beneath the root and depress it, so give it room to grow and give it a pathway so they can reach out and get to some good bearing soil. I would like to improve it, but at this point, I can't really figure out a better way to do it. Now Patrick runs the program. Patrick has since taken the program and made additional modifications and improvements to it. I feel, very confident in our approach to it. The problem I'm seeing is that we live in a city where we have tons of trees and the trees are growing and they're getting to the size now where some of these root issues are going to become more of an issue. And I also think that, and I hear this from our insurance carrier, that there are a lot more sidewalk lawsuits, people tripping on sidewalks. And I think as long as awards are granted to people who sue cities, it's just going to draw more of that sort of thing. So it's definitely an issue for us to concern ourselves with without spending quite a bit more money on it. I don't know that we're ever going to be able to get completely ahead of it. We are somewhat reactive to it. And I'm open to ideas. I love what we try to do. Part of what we're trying to do is reach out. I was very alarmed to find out that our website was not allowing people to provide input because we are actively asking the public to tell us where these are. That is our primary source of notification on these displacements. So we want people to notify us, and we do, like I said, we continue to do a project every year. We're working on a project list right now, and towards the end of summer, we'll bid another sidewalk project. And hopefully we'll be close to our budget.
Oh, start with the city administrator, and then we'll go down.
The website has been fixed.
Councilor Johnson and then Councilor Christensen.
So I have three things. The first is I was kind of shocked to find out that one of our pages could break. One that I frequently share with residents, whether they use it or not is a different question. But I wonder if we need some sort of a protocol of checking on our website for those pages that have those forms to see when they expire. And maybe that just needs to be something that the administration looks into to come up with a solution so that doesn't happen. I do think that we could do more frequent PR blasts, uh, advertising that webpage. People may or may not actually use it, but we should, I think, increase the visibility of that page by increasing the frequency at which we share that with the public. And then the more important thing is I am concerned about the route ramp idea. So along my street, we did get a route ramp. I believe it was last year. It's a little steep, if I'm going to be honest. When you look at a slope that exists and you think, wow, that's got to be like a 45-degree angle. If you just hold your hand up next to it and look at it, you realize that's like 15 degrees, maybe like 8 degrees. Slopes are actually a lot less steep than you think. A 1-degree slope is enough to create our continental shelves that dive down into the depths of the ocean. So my point is that little bit of slope actually kind of creates a potential that I might be concerned with, and I'll stop talking because my city attorney is going to tell me to stop talking, but something to think about. But also just in general, the aesthetics and how nice it is to walk. If you're walking on a roller coaster on all of our sidewalks, it looks a little goofy, and I don't think that's very pleasant. So I'm curious if we could maybe think a little bit more about the route ramps and when they're used. Maybe there are certainly appropriate times, something to think about.
Councilor Christensen?
Thank you. I have a couple quick questions. So Director, you said that a project will be bid out later this year, correct?
Correct.
And my understanding of that would be that then if there are a number of different locations where residents have reported concerns, that those would potentially, assuming they meet certain criteria, go into that project to be bid. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. So the way we bid it, we have a menu of repairs, right?
Mhm.
So some of the ones that I had mentioned previously, those are details which are provided with the list that gets bid. So what's bid is really the location of each one and the repair for each of those locations.
Okay.
Right. And so if they can look at the spot, there's a width and a length. So we give them the width of the sidewalk and the length of sidewalk that needs to be repaired. And we say, we want you to construct detail A. They go to detail A. Let's say it's a route ramp, right? And it shows how to construct a route ramp, right? And so that's, a fair way to bid it without forcing the contractor to go and visit every 250 sites and come up with an individual cost, right? So it seems to work well for us. We actually get good pricing that way, and we get we can maximize how much work we get done for the dollar. Yeah.
So always good to maximize that wherever possible. Thank you. And then I just had one other quick question, and it may not be a fair one for right now because you're kind of getting put on the spot, but do you recall offhand how much money we've appropriated for the sidewalks program for this year?
That's where you're going to ask me that. So it's
We have a
complex.
finance director
Yes,
that's
I'm
already
confident
there.
behind you.
All right, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to go with the spiel a little bit as well. So council has approved a CIP, and as well as that, we've included that CIP as a part of the budget. Just for anyone that's paying attention, we will be going through a CIP update, kind of starting really early next year, and that will influence the operating budget going forward for 27 to 2032. As a part of that CIP, council has prioritized capital maintenance. And so commonly we have this distinction between capital projects and capital programs. Capital programs are intended to replace similar assets over a long period of time. So think about sidewalks or street resurfacing, for example, and we've prioritized that as part of the CIP. And we put money aside annually to support that program moving forward now and into the future. So in terms of our sidewalk improvement program, we have budgeted $430,000 for 25 and 26. $430,000. Over the 6-year CIP, we have budgeted $1.35 million towards this sidewalk improvement program. Now that's just replacing sidewalks, not in consideration of trees and things like that. As a part of the utilities portion of the CIP, we have also scheduled a urban forestry improvement program. Over this 2-year period, 25 and 26, we intend to replace roughly about $510,000 worth of trees and the sidewalk panels that will come with that. Over that 6-year period, what we've built into the utility rate study is basically $1.78 million that will go towards that urban forestry improvement program. Examples currently out there right now that people could go look at if they want to. So there's been work done at Stellar in that neighborhood location, as well as Autumn most recently. In terms of last year, just to give you a sense of the sidewalk improvement program, we did some work, I believe, in 2023. In addition to that, we had this 384th Street project as well, in which really there wasn't any sort of sidewalk right along that stretch, and was really critical to make sure that we can connect a school in Compass right down the road down to Noon Street. And so we leveraged our sidewalk improvement dollars that we had available here internally with a TIB grant of $500,000. So I believe it was really important for council to approve that project because we were receiving a grant that could support a lot of work along that stretch and was a safety issue right at that location overall. So we've done some work relatively recently to kind of get our sidewalks, and we've made some improvements, especially here. But once again, council has prioritized capital maintenance, and so consequently, every year or every 2 years, we will be spending money to replace sidewalk panels and likewise. Thank you.
Thank you. See, Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, we'll go right down the line.
Okay, so what I heard from public comment was we're not addressing sidewalks and our webpage was broke. Okay, so this is all great conversation, but I'd really love to see like just a one pager says, here's our process for determining what sidewalks we do. Here's what we spent over the last couple of years. Here's how many sidewalk feet we've replaced over the last couple of years to refute the thing that we're not addressing sidewalks. Because the impression that at least that this individual had and potentially others in the community she talked to was that we're not. So let's show some data, not just talking it, but actually show some data and get it to this individual or get it down in one of our newsletters that says, here's what we do in regards to sidewalk.
Yeah, I like that.
The other item in regards to the webpage, when I get to have this kind of fun at work. First issue is fix it. Second issue is prevent it. So probably a discussion in FNA for these public facing, I'll call them public facing utilities or whatever, forms, utilities, whatever. What are we doing to ensure that they're actually up there when we council members and you as staff say, here, go to this place on the web to tell us this stuff? Okay, and we may get into a discussion of what is is it 100% of the time, 90% of the time? The term would be an SLA, service level agreement, of what are we expecting? So I'd like to take that conversation to FNA to have that discussion. I would love to have the conversation of what's the process and what we've done over a couple of years as far as communication format into Parks and Public Works. Unless you guys tell me, no, that's just way too much. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Councilor Watton?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank Ms. Noonan for bringing this issue forward. I think, it's great whenever residents speak up and share their concerns. And I think to put things in perspective as well is that so many, like my neighborhood came on board 20 years ago, and it's about the lifetime when trees start doing weird things. They grow, and they grow in places where they weren't intended to go, and then we end up with failure. And I live in K North, and it's a whole community that was built in about 12 to 18 months, and we're going to have these things come up over and over again, sometimes faster at us than we can keep up. And the challenge is how do we make sure that our resources, our financial resources, go the farthest? And we definitely want to take care of these things. It's just we have to have balance in how we do that. And the other thing I want to point out is that 20 years ago, we didn't have the forestry management that we do now, with Phil Bennett and his team taking that on. And there are trees back then that he probably wouldn't recommend today, but they're trees that they become very expensive to replace, as well as the sidewalk and everything else. So I know in front of my house, we've got a sticky mess. And, unfortunately, we have to just try to figure out how we as homeowners um, work on addressing it, because it's that piece, and it's also the equity as far as the entire city needs to be addressed. So, we've got newer sidewalks. There are a lot of other places that don't have as new sidewalks. But when residents help give us feedback, it just helps us to understand how big the issue may be. And we'll do our best to try to keep up with it. So thank you.
Counselor Benson, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. Uh, Thank you for the presentation. Great job. I think Councilman Member Holloway's idea about putting together some kind of one-page report that lets people know what we are doing with sidewalks is a really great idea, because we have an incredibly robust sidewalk replacement and repair program. And I'm not sure if you're not on the street where a big project is happening, and you're a resident in the city, you probably have no idea it's going on, but it is very expensive and very detailed. The Autumn Park example, I think, is an incredible one, and it points out one of our main problems being the choice of trees that the developers made, the not necessarily arborist way that they planted them. And when you look at Autumn Park, where we had all kinds of huge trees that were lovely, and then we had a wind event, because they weren't planted deep enough, they all came down, and there was a lot of sidewalk that needed to be repaired there. But the program that we went through, that you guys went through, was to completely redo the way things were planted. I think you put a French drain in there, you dug 3 feet or deep or more, replaced sidewalk, got good trees in there that belonged there, were planted properly. And we could, there are a lot of, if you ever look at the map that they do each year of all of the sidewalk repairs, the grinds, the replacements, the route, we could, if we wanted to as a city, turn our entire sidewalk system into a billiard table and have it perfectly level, and never have any lifts or cracks or problems at all. We could do that, but we wouldn't be able to do anything else ever. That would be the only thing that we did. And the creativity of the Parks and Public Works department, along with utilities and stormwater and trees, is fantastic. The work that we did on 384th, Dylan Gamble, to secure the grant funding to get that very necessary sidewalk in. I mean, residents should go on a drive down 384th, even if they don't normally do it, just to look at the fantastic work that was done, largely with grant money. So it's the kind of thing where we have, you guys are unsung heroes, and we need to sing you more. And I think Councilmember Holloway's idea of putting out a page, just letting people know that we do care about this. We're sorry that the site crashed, but we prioritize when people let us know that there's a tripping hazard, and that's important to Parks and Public Works, I think is a great idea. And I know you got people there that can implement something like that. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson?
Yeah, one final thought was related to the communications with the public. When we did the last round of sidewalk repairs, that map, I thought, was striking. Just how many dots were on there of things that were identified and were going to be addressed. And I think that, yeah, I think that's a powerful visual.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good idea. I like that public outreach element to it. I think that we will definitely do that for sure. And
You'll
from,
probably reach more people than watch this YouTube.
right, I think, any support I can get or help to convey that message more, more thoroughly or better would be much appreciated. So, yeah, thank you.
Right, any other questions?
Thank you,
Thank you,
Director.
Jeff. Is there any other report from Parks and Public Works Committee?
No.
Nope. How about Finance Administration Committee?
None at this time.
All right, we'll go to the mayor's report. So first of all, we've had several of our directors and management complete the WCIA Supervisor Credential Program through the WCIA, which is our insurance group, through their Management Academy. So congratulations to our City Administrator, Mike Chambliss, to our Deputy Chief, Chris Brown, our IT Director, Fletcher LaCroix, and our City Clerk, Dina Dean, on accomplishing those. So congratulations. We have Snoqualmie Days coming up August 23rd. We're going to start the day with Snoqualmie firefighters pancake breakfast and silent auction, which is at the Snoqualmie Fire Station from 7 to 11 a.m. And then the annual Snoqualmie Days Grand Parade starts at 10 a.m. And then there's many community festivities following the parade. So hopefully each of you can make it. We also have the Snoqualmie International Block Party, which is on September 6th. And I'm mentioning all this because this is the only council meeting that we are having this month. So the next meeting is September 8th. We are also going to be posting soon about, we're going to do Snoqualmie's, we're calling it City Academy instead of Citizens Academy, starting October 1st. And so it's a great way for residents and businesses to get a detailed perspective of how city government runs and how it runs. Anyway, you can watch for more information to sign up if you're interested in that. So we're thinking around maybe 15 persons will be in the initial class. And State Route 18, there's a closure over Tiger Mountain Summit. So actually it'll be from Tiger Mountain all the way to I-90, starting Friday, August 15th at 9 p.m. And we're reopen August 18th, Monday, about around 5 a.m. And this will be, I guess they're going to do some new paving and continue to work as quick as they can to get State Route 18 fully widened and open soon. So that is coming up over this weekend or future weekend. With that, that's all the comments that I have. And is there any community liaison or committee reports? Councilor Cotton.
Just a quick addendum from the Snoqualmie Days Committee is also, don't forget the music crawl Friday night downtown with the various venues and free live music happening, which is always fun.
Great.
Is that on the 22nd?
Yes, Friday night. Yep,
Is there music Friday night? I know there's music Saturday.
Friday night,
Oh,
22nd. Yep.
Okay, and Saturday night too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other commission, committee liaison reports? And I'll turn it over to our city administrator for department reports.
Well, Councilperson Benson, I think you stole my thunder a little bit. I do want to sing about some of our unsung heroes and do a little deep dive into Public Works. So they're in full summer operations, which is just short of madness and bedlam going on, just so you know. For example, 16,000 work orders in July. And since Tyler went online in October of last year, they have 14,300 work orders completed. Just as a little taste of what they're up to. Splash pads up and running. Lots of people are having a good time out there. Road maintenance is focusing currently on pothole repair throughout town. If somebody knows of one or anything, I'm sure Jeff would love a call or an email letting them know where that is. Utility rate study, they've moved on to the next phase, which is the GFC work. So that will be coming to council later in the year. Interesting thing about our wastewater division, we treated 30 million gallons of sewage last month. But of that, 23 million gallons was recycled for irrigation. That's huge for a small town like this. Water division is continuing to just kill it. They are fully staffed and they are out and running and doing a great job. Parks and Public Works, or Parks has been working man short all season and you wouldn't know it. Last, I wanted to let you know that the Department of Corrections did 10 work days last month. They did vegetation clearance on 7 of our ponds, cleared the trail up to Canyon Springs, repaired fence at 3 ponds, and repaired the fence along the forest edge on Frontier Avenue. So that is another program that's working very well. I'm just going to highlight that department this week. All the other departments are in there. I encourage you all to take a good look at this information. I'm sorry, 1,600 work orders last month. If I said 16,000.
I thought that
I've
sounded
been
like a lot.
I've been up a long time. I apologize.
You rock! You rock!
Yeah.
I agree. Nice
I'm
job.
gonna stop talking now.
With that, we no further business become for council. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Someone's
So-
moved.
Second.
To move by Councilor Johnson, second by Councilor Watton.
Good enough.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And we are now adjourned. Thank you.